Hello, everyone. Good evening and a warm welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in for a very special edition of TUP Career Cafe. I am Yash Naik Navre, an RELP from 2021 batch, and I'm going to be your host for today. So, this is all about the ultimate pitch, the TUP, which is a competition which allows all the bright and young talents from across the country, the best B schools of this country, to showcase their uninhibited entrepreneurial spirit. So, as all of you are quite aware, that Reliance as an organization has always believed in three things, which is think big. I think big also is not the right word. Big, think massive, then think fast, and then think ahead. By ahead, I mean like think what is going to be the trend, not for the next 5 years, not the next decade, but as our chairman says, for the next 25 years, next 50 years. And that is what we are looking for from our future talent, which is all of you here. So thank you so much once again for joining this call. Now, I'll tell you what are we looking for in you, because I think even me, when I was a student, I had this question that what is it that a company looks for? What is it that the recruiters look for? And I think if some of you are aware by the concept of resonance, I'll just use that. That means that frequency matches. So in this case, when the expectation from organization or whatever the organization's larger vision is, if that is something which matches with your aspirations, your skill set, then I think you're the right fit. And in this case, but what I think is that Reliance will look for change makers, trendsetters, and innovators who are kind of willing to take that first step to make a difference, which is like just take one step at a time, one idea at a time. And it's all about dreaming big. So in this case, what we want is that you can have a chance to be a finalist in the TUP and win pre-placement interviews for the prestigious Reliance Emerging Leaders program. So now, while all of this sounds really exciting, as we go along, we'll get to know more about the RELP program from our esteemed leaders, as well as I'll be sharing some of my insights, very nascent insights, but some very insightful ones for sure. And what I think is that it can be very daunting at this point of time. So, what we have organized, thanks to the team, is this a unique career cafe opportunity where you, which is our future leaders, will get a chance to spend a quality time, a quality 1 hour, and have a conversation about careers, about tracks, about your choices, specifically pertaining to human resources in this case. And to help you along, we have leaders from Reliance who are here to talk about what are the exciting opportunities available for you guys through their own professional journeys, through some insightful, what we can say, insightful experiments or projects that they have had through their long, illustrious career. And what I think is that please feel free to ask any questions addressed to anyone, be it about Reliance, about career, your job, and we will try our best to answer it, especially with the senior leaders here. I'm very sure that they will be able to give you very satisfactory answers. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce the first leader, which is Miss Aarti Jhingon, who is the head of Cadre Development, Talent, and Leadership at Reliance Industries Limited. She has more than 12 years of experience. And I'll tell you personally, I'm very fortunate because she was the one who was part of the induction team who helped me during my internship days, during my RELP days. And one thing I can tell you about her is that she's very, very passionate about nurturing and developing young leaders because that is what our future is. So, like fostering the career growth, exactly what is needed for someone because everyone is unique, right? So, we need a very customized plan. And Aarti ma'am is someone who understands it very well. So, she is the one who's in charge right now to help you guys in understanding how can you shape your career, how can you become a leader so that the organization, this country at large, can have future leaders who can take us ahead. So
Thank
thank you
you
so
so
much,
much,
Aarti,
Yash.
for joining.
Thank you for that warm introduction. Thanks.
Next, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jeeva Balakrishnan, who is the Senior Vice President and Chief Talent Officer at Reliance Retail. He has more than 28 years of experience. And if you visit his LinkedIn, you'll be amazed to see the levels of interest that he has in all sorts of fields. And one thing which I fondly remember about him, and again, it's a privilege that I get to work with him, attend a lot of sessions with him, which is about enabling organizations growth by helping people succeed. And like he calls himself someone who keeps on learning new things all the time. Even today, he is at a conference where he wants to learn what's happening. And in the next 1 hour or so, we'll get to learn a lot about what his sharp mind and experience has to share with us. So, welcome both Aarti ma'am and Jeeva sir to the Career Cafe. It's a pleasure to host both of you. So, to start off, I have introduced you from my perspective, but it would be great for the audience to get to know more about you. So, we can start off with Aarti ma'am.
My God, Yash, after giving such an elaborate introduction, I think it's a little difficult to do justice to introducing myself. But thank you so much. And it's really, really an honor and a privilege to be here. And firstly, a very good evening to everybody. Like Yash has already mentioned, I'm Aarti and I lead the Cadre development at Reliance Industries. And I think he also mentioned about the love and passion that I have for this space of talent and careers. In fact, I think I'm so obsessed with trying to build careers for young talent and also building the employer brand that that's all that's constantly sort of running in my head. But I'm also extremely passionate about hiring youngsters, and I've done that, for a living for many years. I was actually, I think, in some way, largely instrumental, Yash, in even hiring you. So, it's been a great journey so far. If I was meeting all of you in person, I think if I ask all the engineers and MBAs, to raise their hands, I think I would be joining all of you in doing so because I am the typical engineer MBA combination. I'm a mechanical engineer and a management postgraduate, and I did have some experience before my management course with an automobile manufacturer. And I have built, a career across experiences in manufacturing, sales, marketing, and human resources functions. Fortunately, with Fortune 500 organizations. So I've spent a few years now at Reliance. In fact, the season number of TUP will tell you the number of years I've spent at Reliance because TUP was, of course, the first project that I had actually anchored and instrumental in kind of bringing it to life. So I'm right now in home zone and very, very eager and excited to meet and interact with great talent and ideators like all of you. So thanks for having me, Yash, and great to be on the screen with you, Jeeva.
My pleasure, Aarti.
Thank you so much, Aarti ma'am. Jeeva sir, if you could just introduce yourself.
Yeah, good evening to everyone. Thank you, Yash. Thank you, Aarti. I'm a little scared now because no, I'm in front of so many young talent across the country, and in fact, in front of my screen, I'm seeing one seasoned professional and a budding professional HR, and I got an opportunity to interact with both of them. In fact, with Aarti, I think I traveled for one of the campus interview, I believe. And then Yash in the last 2 years during his RELP journey, and even now I got an opportunity to work with him very closely. So one of the brightest minds. We are proud to say that no, we have the brightest minds in our team, retail HR team. Okay, Reliance Retail HR team. I'm just slightly taking ownership of no Reliance Retail HR team. So okay, fine. So you have introduced me very nicely, Yash. But yeah, maybe no. I do have similar feeling like no Aarti is also missing to interact with all the brightest minds across the country. So I'm also we are just looking at our screen and then interacting. But at the same time, it's also an opportunity to address or to at least I mean to share our views to a larger audience, right? That's also possible without traveling anywhere. So, to introduce myself, of course, there could be many engineers with MBAs, and Aarti is also one amongst them. And unfortunately, I'm not an engineer, and I didn't want to become an engineer during my college. I mean, during my school days, I somehow felt that no, I'm not cut out for engineering. That's how I decided to do my graduation in business administration. I did my BBA, Bachelor of Business Administration, and then I didn't want to do a BBA because I didn't want to do management again, the same all the streams. So I want to be very specialized. That's why I got an opportunity to do masters in human resource management from an Institute of Social Sciences, Mother Institute of Social Sciences, where I get an opportunity to to work with grassroots people. I think probably that grounded me a lot. So able to connect with grassroots people. We, as part of our curriculum, interact with villages. We used to go to field work to mental hospital or even jail also. I mean, that's our field trip. So that's how we got an opportunity to interact with people. I think probably that helped me to understand the nuances of HR. HR started from there, and when you start interacting with people. So my entire career, I've got about 28 years of experience in HR. Started most part of my career in manufacturing. I think there is a talkback, right? There is a yeah, Aarti, if you could mute. Yeah, is it better now? Yeah. So
Yes.
thank you. So yeah, so my manufacturing stint that helped me to again to work with grassroots people. It gave me a very strong foundation. I become a head of HR in 2 years time, 2 years experience. Within 2 years experience, I become a head of HR for a plant. So that no, you get a lot of action. It's all about manufacturing. Is all about action. So a lot of actions oriented experience. And then retail for the last 12 years. I'm in retail. I used to work with Raymond earlier. So TUP number version is 8.0. I can also connect with that. Though I'm not initially, I didn't get an opportunity to work in TEP project, but same number. This is my 8th year with Reliance Retail, Reliance Group. So my sorry. So my opportunity, I started my journey with Reliance Retail as a head of HR for Reliance Digital Electronics Retail. And then I was also heading HR for our grocery business. It's called Cash and Carry, Reliance Market. And the last 2 years, I get an opportunity to work on people development, talent development for the group, for Reliance Retail. I think that's my brief introduction. Maybe as we move along, as we go along, we can also share some of my specific experience.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much for that introduction. That's certainly quite a journey. Like the experience itself is more than my age right now. Thank you so much for the kind words, both of you.
Thank you for yeah, thank you for making me like a old man now.
That's not the intention for sure. But yeah, thank you so much. So now what we can like to do is that from your journey, we are sure that you have a vast experience across industries. But at Reliance itself, we are such a diverse business, and each one of you has had a lot of, I can say, a lot of stories from those businesses. And especially with the previous session that we had, Mr. Srini sir walked us through what we are doing in all fields. If you could just tell us in brief about how you see your businesses. I think the audience right now is quite aware the retail inclination of Jeeva sir and industries experience of Aarti ma'am. So both are behemoths, both are our engines of growth. We are already at a massive scale in both of them, but the slope of growth, I'll use scientific terms, but the slope of growth is very high. So if you could just enlighten us from your perspective.
Sure.
Okay.
So, Jeeva, why don't you go? Sure, sure.
Yeah,
Please go. Go
right.
ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Aarti. So, retail, as you rightly pointed out, yes, it's growing like leaps and bounds, right? Every day, every week, we are getting some new announcements, and that's like we are growing like anything. And it's a 4 lakh plus employees entity. So that's how I look at it. It's retail is all about. It's 400,000 as we speak. I mean, maybe today they would have hired some another 5,000 people. So that's why every day we are hiring people. So it's like 400,000 people. That's a larger business, and it's very diverse also. Very diverse business. It's not about only a physical retail. And as our chairman says, think big, think faster. We are bigger, better, and faster every day, and that's what we are. And our revenue growth is in the last 5 years. If you look at it, it's 5x growth and 40% CAGR. I don't think which organization in the country would have such remarkable financial numbers. And then, in fact, no, EBITDA, in terms of EBITDA, it's about more than 28% EBITDA the last few years. And every year we are adding business, and then there are about 50 different businesses across 10 formats. So we have different verticals, as you know. It's 10 different formats under under that, no, there are about 50 different businesses ranging from grocery, fashion, lifestyle, consumer electronics, pharma, jewels, and recently we also launched our beauty business and home improvement. And in terms of channels, we have B2B channels and B2C channels. It's no more a physical retail. It's We are an omni retail, and we are in online and offline as well. So you have everything. And massive supply chain capability. We have a very strong supply chain capability, and then we are experiencing both organic growth and inorganic growth. And that's a kind of massive growth, exponential growth we are experiencing. And in terms of employees, for HR, I think we are talking about HR career and HR team. Then it's all about, we have a heterogeneous employee groups. We have 40 different functions, and more than 150 plus cities. I mean, 750 cities we are operating, and we have a workforce from eighth pass to even PhDs also. So that's the kind of, employees, diverse employees we have. And different leaders also we have. We have individual contributors, we have managers, we have senior leaders. It's a massive growth, both in terms of complexity and the size, the capacity, the quantity. It's massive, and I'm proud to be part of this organization. That's what I could see. I can't explain more than what it is. It's So what does it mean to me, or what does it mean to HR is, when there are lakhs of people, I mean 400,000 people, and diverse background. The challenges are different. The expectations are different. HR plays a major role. Maybe, we can talk about HR going forward, but this is the kind of business we are in, Ash. Yes, Aarti.
So I think Jeeva's made my life simpler by actually taking up a huge part of what Reliance is, right? I mean, I think retail or all our other businesses, even within Reliance, I think we are always on a growth path. And that's absolutely true, even when we look at the hydrocarbons or the oil to chemicals, and now, of course, the energy and materials space that we are in. Before we talk a little bit about the business, I thought, Yash, I'd also like to cover a little bit on the HR part, because, we do have a lot of our students who I guess are perhaps still contemplating, if this is HR is the way to go, because in the first year you do still continue to have electives that you could choose. And being someone who hasn't really, didn't get into HR by got into HR more by chance than by actually selecting or choosing HR as a career. I think I look at this function very differently. I've spent a fair amount of time on, in manufacturing, sales, marketing before I moved into HR, and hence I've seen HR from slightly different lenses as well. And when I did get into HR, I think there was no looking back. So I sincerely believe that human resources or the people function is actually the heart of an organization. And contrary to popular belief, like your stand-up comedians and memes would quote that HR is a rangoli competition function, and they're only looking after tables and chairs and ACs. Let me break that myth down. It's absolutely not true. I think I've also had the fortune of working with great organizations where HR does play a very, very key role as a strategic partner in business. And I'm just going to take cue from what Jeeva was sharing. Jeeva actually spoke about the business first, because that's exactly where we play a role in partnering with the business and ensuring that the business continues to thrive in the best possible way with all of those resources in place. Personally, I think I really like the function because I think it's very, very intuitive as a function. It's a very intuitive function. You actually need to sort of understand and feel a lot of things to be able to deliver. And it is, of course, dealing with the most important asset of any organization, right, which is people. So, and if you would have, of course, heard in your classrooms through your professors, HR also is transforming, much like our businesses, into a very, very new age, tech-enabled analytical function. And at Reliance, especially, I think we eat, sleep, breathe technology, and even in the people function, we do that. So, Overall, at Reliance, I think this is an absolutely exciting time to be an HR professional. Whether be our energy and material space, retail space, geo space, all our businesses. I think HR. The beauty is that it's fairly agnostic, and thus opportunities within the group for HR are immense and extremely exciting. Focusing a little more on our energy and materials business, I think we are undergoing a huge transformation. I'm sure all of you, as management students, are cued on to what Reliance is up to. I'm sure a lot of you would have also seen our AGM and seen insights of our chairman sharing some really great plans about how our future for the organization is. And the best part is that HR here actually is in many ways leading that transformation along with the business to make it happen. And that's the kind of opportunity that a lot of our young RELs who join us in this program also continue to get. Whether it is looking at how we can change and bring in change management, how we can look at transformed organizations, how we can actually look at organizational development. Do we need slightly more, talent management practices which are of the future? How do you enable all of these are opportunities that lie ahead of you? And I think within Reliance, each of those are very exciting spaces to work in, and it would be great to have some of our young talent from the institutes with us on that journey.
Thank you so much, ma'am and sir, for sharing all these insights about HR, about your businesses. Like listening to you, I just got these thoughts in my mind, specifically pertaining to the AGM. Like in the recent years, our AGM has reached the level, like previously the level of say an Apple symposium, where everyone used to look forward to what's going to be announced. And now Reliance has achieved that scale. And not only focusing on tech, we have so many announcements pertaining to what is aligned with the national policy, what's good for the people. And from my limited experience, what I've realized honestly at this point of time is that as we talk about scale, we are hiring at scale. And so when we hire so many people at scale, it's not that we are just hiring at one particular designation. This talk is for RELs. But as an REL who is part of HR, you are responsible to think about hiring someone who is or just a graduate to someone who is a very senior leader with vast experience. And that is what I think amuses me about Reliance personally, that you have to think about all the entire spectrum of people that you have to hire. um, yeah, so continuing on that front, what I think personally is that in this case, like just like the AGM, the HR perspective here, we can share the screen later, the team. Yeah. So just continuing to what Jeeva sir had mentioned, that the scale and the businesses that we are working on, what I think was that from the students who are joined on this call, if you can just share your insights, whatever comes to your mind when you think of Reliance and entrepreneurship. It can be anything. You might be glued to news, you might hear news about Reliance investing in a particular organization or buying or just getting a joint venture, and you can just put it on the chat so that we also get to know about what is it on your mind pertaining to Reliance and entrepreneurship. In the meanwhile, continuing the discussion ahead, what I think is that students are quite excited about opportunities that are available here, because HR here is just not a transactional function. It is like a very strategic function, because we are the ones to decide as to how a human centric organization, like there is tech, but there are people here, there are real people. And one thing which I personally realized was that we use a lot of logic, as ma'am mentioned. We use a lot of analytics, we use a lot of scale, but there is one critical element that our chairman announced in the AGM, is that of empathy. That whenever you make all these decisions, whenever you use analytics, that data point is just not a product. That data point is a human being. There are feelings, there are situations, there is so much of care and emotions involved. So, personally speaking, as ma'am also mentioned, when HR is not by the first choice, eventually we realize in our journey that it is probably the best thing because it is at the heart of the organization. So now really we have to ask both of you that from your experience, the entrepreneurship zeal, can you just share from your experiences in your day-to-day life or day-to-day life at work, specifically at Reliance? What is it that comes to your mind?
Aarti, you want to go first?
Sure, Jeeva. So, actually, I think it's a very interesting question because I think like technology, I think the other thing which is absolutely apparent about Reliance is entrepreneurial thinking. In fact, one of the values that we have, and we have 6 values for everyone who's joined in. I think it's an important question that you might get asked if you're in the Reliance interview room. So maybe go on to the website and check out our 6 values. But one of our values, which we hold extremely closely, is ownership mindset, and that again stems from this entrepreneurial thinking aspect. Right? So I'll share a personal example, and why I'm sharing this is because one, it's of course a TUP platform, but the other is that's how empowered I felt as someone who had joined in about 8.5 years back, and the ultimate pitch or TUP was just a small little idea at one point in time, which sort of came to me. We discussed, we actually presented it. In fact, Srini sir, who many of our students got the opportunity of hearing just before this session, we did go present to him. And I remember our leadership here actually said that, okay, if this is an idea, a competition like this, or an opportunity where we actually get to get ideas from a lot of our students, and if we feel very strongly about it and propel it, please go ahead and take that forward. And I think that's what entrepreneurial thinking is, where every employee in any part of our organization comes up with an idea. We kind of help propel, hone, and give those opportunities for each of our employees to run it like their own business, run it like their own project. I think that's entrepreneurial thinking, and that's the opportunity that I feel extremely proud of that I did get with the ultimate pitch. And today, to see it in its 8th year, attracting so many thousands and thousands of students with some wonderful ideas and seeing so many ideas fructify and come to life. I think there's no bigger, happiness or joy that I get as someone who actually was a part of the team that made it come to life. So that to me is actually entrepreneurial thinking in action. That to me is what Reliance believes when it comes to propelling ideas and thinking in an entrepreneurial way. And it's great to see, and this is just one story that I've shared, which is a personal example. I think if you come down and speak to our employees, there are going to be multiples of stories like these where there was an idea, how it helped them propel them things at work, and you can actually take those ideas forward. So with that, I think entrepreneurial thinking is our DNA. And I just like to quote something which our founder chairman, used to say, and that's something which resonates with me very, very strongly. And that is, ideas are no one's monopoly. And I think that is the essence of, what Reliance is, and pretty much what the essence of the ultimate pitch is as well. So that's just how I've seen entrepreneurial thinking in action. But Jeeva, would love to hear from you.
I think you made my. I think you. It's very simple. You covered one of our strongest value is ownership mindset. I think you covered it, and TUP is a classic example of how we are encouraging ideas and how we are encouraging ownership. It's again democratizing ownership. That's how I look at it. It's not. It's not again no one's monopoly. It's not only monopoly for our employees. It's also for brightest young minds across the country. And second thing is, I mean, my experience in the last 7.5 years, every day, I mean, we experiment new things, and we learn from others. As our chairman, most of the time, I mean, he shared, no, like, think big, think faster. So we are known for our agility and scalability. I think this is what I mean when you look at the number, when you look at the speed. I'm sure you would have understood. No, this is was possible only if we are able to do it faster and at the same time think bigger. So the scale and agility is our DNA. And in fact, no, as part of my role, and I have to study the leadership behavior and then create a competency framework, or no, who's our ideal, or rather, no, archetypes or persona of leaders. And four things we have come across. I don't mind, I'm sharing it with you. So one is agile accelerator. All our leaders, all our employees are agile accelerator. We help people to accelerate. Unless, I mean, there is ownership, it's not possible to accelerate. No, so it's a larger organization. You have to really decentralize the decision, decentralize the power. Then only it's possible for you to take decision and then move faster. We don't have time to think and act. We have to think and act together. So as we think, we need to really act and run. So this is one thing. And second one is, our chairman, most of the time he talks about, and he really, I mean, demonstrates, uh, that human centricity. When I'm saying human centricity, it's all about caring about our employees, caring about customers, and caring about our community and stakeholders. So that's human centric coach. A leader in Reliance Retail is also a human centric coach. The third one is high performance enabler, and performance happens only if you are able to enable our employees, right? And ownership is should be there, entrepreneurial thinking should be there with everyone, then only you'll be able to perform. And high performance enabler, the last one is inclusive growth. And as an organization, we are very diverse, and at the same time, we need to collaborate with others. And while we are taking decision, we also collaborate with others. We get the best in minds, best of everyone. So I think that's how, in my experience, this is how I define, these are the four major personas of our leaders. That's how this organization is nurturing ownership in each and every one in this organization. Yes, Yash.
That's so well put by both of you. And what I also thought about this was that isn't Geo also a startup? Or isn't a new energy
Correct.
O2C?
It's a
That
massive
also is a
startup.
startup, right? Exactly. So like every new business, every new idea is pursued here at Reliance just in the zeal, just like startups do. It's just that we are able to achieve the scale so rapidly that people kind of chortle at the point that is it actually a startup? Because startups are supposed to be small, right? But here we think, and as Sir also mentioned, we act on it very quickly, and that's why you scale up. We make mistakes, but it's still like it doesn't stop us from thinking big and trying new things again and again. So thank you so much for putting that across. Now, just to lighten the mood, and also for the audience out here, you please feel free to ask questions. Mention them in the chat board, and we can answer them as we go along. To continue this, to both of you, sir and ma'am, what are your fondest memories from campus life? And if I can ask you, what would you do if if you get a chance to actually live the student life right now? If you swap roles right now? Aarti ma'am, you can go first.
So I think I'm going to take a deviate from your question slightly and pick up a soft spot which is between campus and corporate, right? So for me, I think my fondest memories are from that sweet spot of transition, which I think Yash, you crossed that fairly recently. So it's when you have sort of decided on an organization, you've joined them very very fresh. And for me, it happened twice over because once post my engineering and the second time post my management. So when you join a certain organization, as a part of a cohort or as a part of a batch, whether it is as a GET or as an MT or in our case like an REL, I think that memory for me is the sweetest when I joined, as a GET. And it's a very sweet transition because you're still a student some way, but you're also joining a corporate, so you kind of assume that there are a lot of responsibilities that you need to take over. But you also have, new friends that you're making as a part of your batch. So I think for me, that is my fondest memory of, a campus to corporate kind of a transition, which is at that sweet spot as you start with your corporate journey and you have equally confused souls around you wondering, okay, what's life going to be like next? So I think that's my fondest memory. And if I have to sort of, give any advice to myself or my younger self, I think it would be never to say never, because I think at that time when I was say a GET or a fresh graduate, joining an organization, I would have never thought I would be on the other side creating careers and helping youngsters actually chart out their careers. So I think my advice to myself would be never say never.
Yeah, I think
Wonderful.
I'm taking the questions from both of you, actual question and then modified questions also. So, one is fondest memories. Before going to the memory lane, Yash, I'm really jealous of you and jealous of everyone, right? So I wish I have a time machine now. So when I moved from a campus to corporate, I didn't have the luxury of, or rather, no, I didn't have the comfort of getting trained for a year and then two stints in RELP, and then you understand the business, you work, you get mentored, and then before getting into a role. And it's an amazing program what we have in RELP, right, in Reliance, at Reliance. I didn't have this luxury. No, so as straight away I was hired as a manager trainee in a small manufacturing organization, and in one year I had to face some 8 strikes, and I have to I got threads and other stuff, but at the same time, no, we I was able to manage those strikes, and I was able to manage. I was able to understand, and that's where, no, I think HR plays a major role. We were able to contribute more than what was expected from us. And interestingly, so probably, no, I got an opportunity to become a unit head within 1 year, probably that experience, because that's how, we learned. And really, today I'm feeling jealous of you, that no, you are going through a very structured growth, and that's a power. And the second thing is, as Aarti said, never say never do. So it's not about where you studied and how you are really utilizing the opportunity to get the best out of you. And we are all born to fly, and we are all having potential. But somewhere, no, we get stuck ourselves in wherever we were. For example, coming to HR, thank you for this particular question, because it helps me to. I always say that, no, my mantra or my purpose of my life is helping people succeed. Why? Maybe individual growth and organization growth. So maybe this could be my passion. There is something called ikigai, right? Ikigai is purpose, and interestingly, my passion becomes my profession. So when somebody, suggested that, no, HR is the best thing, so you can work with people, you can also make an direct and indirect impact on their growth, and that becomes my profession. That's what paying my bills today, right? That profession is paying my bills. So my passion become my mission become my vocation, my profession. And that's also, no, I'm finding every day some new things I'm learning. And today I'm also proudly, I can call myself as a student in a management institute. I'm doing my PhD from a management institute. So I continuously, you learn and then reflect, and then get an opportunity to make an impact on people, right? I think this is the best profession, I would say, than anything else. I'm not trying to promote HR here, but yeah, I'm speaking from my heart. So this is a fantastic function which is helping you to live your life, live your passion. And I think that's what my fondest memory. I'm trying to connect with my campus and then corporate life today. Still I'm in campus. I also used to go to campus.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful, ma'am. Thank you so much for that. And I think that's what's the best part about HR, probably, that after the job, maybe a grueling day at work, maybe a chill day at work, more possibly anything, you come back and you realize that you're very satisfied because somewhere down the line, whatever you worked, it directly impacted people. So if we had a graph where the work was plotted against the impact on lives of people, I'm very sure HR would be at the top. All of the functions are very important, very critical to drive the business. But when it comes to that part, as I mentioned, the empathy part of it, when you take decisions based on keeping a human being in mind, I think that gives a lot of
Just to add,
satisfaction. So,
Ash, in fact, no, HR is part of every function. I think every operation manager needs to be a HR manager. Every production manager needs to be an HR manager. So it's like, no, so HR is integral part of everyone. I think if you are, if a CEO, today I was listening to a CEO. That CEO was proudly saying that, no, I'm 75% I'm a CHRO. That's what he said. 75% of my work, my day-to-day work is CHRO's work. That's what I'm doing. He's a CEO of a largest financial company in the country, and he was quoting it today morning. I heard from him, and I was really proud of that. No, so he's doing. You think there's no 75% of his time he's doing his CHRO's role. I think this is an integral part of every function.
I think that is something I was fondly remember from my B school days, where one thing which I really liked about HR was that there was a professor who told us that every business problem has an HR solution to it. Like it can be anything. It can be the hiring, right kind of hiring, the right kind of mentoring, grooming, learning and development. And as you rightly said, that people, in the end, after a point of time, every job becomes about how you manage people, how you manage vendors, how you manage stakeholders. It's human beings in the end. So from that
Exactly.
point of view, I think certainly the skills, like also one thing, it's a common saying that you don't quit the job, you quit your manager. So if the manager is right, you might be able to take even the most difficult of the difficult jobs. So that's again an area where HR has a very huge role to play. And just as you guys have mentioned that learning is something which happens on a very constant basis, and there are a lot of ways to learn, honestly. Like it's just not the theoretical way. It's not the way we learn in colleges. Like especially at Reliance, from my experience also, I've seen that everyone here is kind of not only fond of reading books and news, that is a guarantee for senior leaders, but one source from which they keep on learning is movies and TV series, and that is something which is very actively discussed. So like when I was also like listening to, even like I got to know that even MDA sir, he also watches movies on a regular basis. Srini sir says that he watches almost every possible movie on a weekend. So from your experience, like there are some movies which you also might be thinking that every HR aspirant should watch for sure. So if you could just share from that point of view, a very different perspective, and also books, so that we also cover the theoretical part of it. So, sir, you may
So
go first.
yeah, okay. So for me, I watch at least minimum two movies a week. Okay, it could go even two, three also, right? So that's how, I mean, I watch movies, and I'm not going to prescribe any movies. For me, movies are like no reflection of your life, and you get an opportunity to somebody's visualization, somebody's imagination, but they are trying to build emotions. They are trying to show you emotions. They are trying to show a conversation between two in between individuals, amongst individuals, right? So you could this is one is watching movie, and when it comes to learning, yes, so every movie, after that movie, I reflect. I always pick up few things. I always pick up what could have been better, what could have been, no, this particular scene construction, how it is done. I mean, is it rightly done? Is there any other better way to construct that scene? I mean, is it possible for me to redesign the life? So it's all about, if I have a conversation with you, if I have a heated conversation, I always reflect after the conversation, is it for me possible for me to redesign the whole thing to make it more relevant, make it more convenient? Because that is redesigning the experience is a beautiful process. So and at least no movie, it's possible. Movie, you can always think about it. You don't have a time machine, you can't go back, but at least no movies, you can always reflect, observe and reflect and learn something from there, and then move on. So this is one of my learning. I would not call it as methodology. This is how I learn as part of my life. Okay, of course, books, and more than books, I listen to podcasts. The second one is I learn from podcast is like, no, you, when you walk, when you travel, you just listen to that. And at least 10% of whatever you listen, when 10% of the content, if you're able to reflect with your own personality, with your own personal experience, I'm sure that that's a great learning. And this is what I could share. Yes, yes, Arti.
So very interesting. I think you're right, Yash. Today, learning can happen from everywhere, and I have seen this as well. That a lot of our leaders within the organization do use movies and series. In fact, I think one of the series that I clearly resonate with, where I have actually had discussions, wondering, okay, this perhaps is why they are doing it, and that's how you should not be as a manager. Is The Office. And The Office is basically a parody on typical office scenarios, office politics, things, and it'll actually make you reflect. Okay, this is not how you would want to be in office, right? This is not. This is perhaps fairly common. While they've made, of course, a humorous take on it, I think it really does leap very deep. Lessons for us to see on how you can be a better manager. What exactly do you really need to do better? And I think for me that was actually an extremely great series to see, and of course learn about even leadership, because there are things that that are actually going well for the people within that series as well. So that's again, I'm not going to recommend it, but I think it's a very fun watch. But if you do want to reflect, you should watch that. I also believe, Yash, that learning can happen in many ways. So yeah, you're right. Movies, books, series are some ways to do it. I think today we do have access to many ways of learning. I'll probably just share three ways which I feel typically I have at least seen myself learn, and they're I can probably just say it's ABC to keep it simple. I think the first one is ask. I think the maximum that I've learned is just by asking. So it's ask, and asking people. And I think conversations with people, knowing people, networking with people, whether senior, whether there are new, fresh talent that's coming in. For me, that's, I think, been the best way that I have learned. So that would be, my first A. B, I think, would be business and, Gyan later. I think it's important that we actually speak to people in the business, or at least try and understand the business that you're in. In HR, it's very easy to sort of start putting some kind of, theories on the table, and putting certain, mechanisms that you can actually deal with. All of that will fall flat if you don't understand your business. So I think that to me would be the second thing, or second way to sort of hone your skill. And the third is C, which is very, very simple, and that's, taking tough challenges. Challenges and common sense. I think both these are extremely important. Challenges will lead to growth. So if you are seeing something which is challenging, don't get scared of it. I think go ahead, try it out, fall into it. You'll probably learn from that experience. And that's another way that I have sort of learned and developed myself. And finally, it is, common sense. I think everything can be solved when you're really trying to use your common sense and use a little bit of logic. And that's why and I mentioned this before, I think HR is extremely intuitive as an area. There will be so many times when you would just know this is just the right way to do it. So I think, which is certain other things apart from, of course, using very physical, tangible mediums, that I thought you could all learn from.
That's wonderful to know. I personally am interested in one insight from both of you, just as I mentioned that this part where every business problem has an HR solution. Just as I fondly remember when I used to prepare for my HR interviews, I used to give this example of 2008 financial crisis, where it appears to be a financial crisis problem. There are a lot of reasons, housing bubble, all those things, all those chain of events. However, a very interesting piece is that if the incentive structure, the design of incentive structure would have been proper, it could have averted the crisis. And that, when I thought from that perspective, it blew my mind that it actually is true. So, if from your experiences, if you can just share some insights, like what do you think is an HR solution to a business problem? Any one of you can go. Jeeva, sir.
So I don't maybe no slightly I want to change this. Let's not call it as HR solution. It's call it people solution.
Sure.
So the reason why I'm saying is again there are some debates now whether we should call people as human resource. Is it a resource? No, it's beyond more than that, right? It's more than that. But whether we are calling it as human resource or be people, and I want to call it as people problem because every business problem is surrounded with people problem. And any issue, if you take it, be it a sales numbers, be it a customer service, uh, any business issues, there are people involved somewhere. I mean, everywhere are people involved, and it's all about. I remember there was one conversation in my. I mean, when I was leading a fashion lifestyle retail, and the CEO for CEO that particular CEO, he always thinks uh, it's not with Reliance prior to that, and he always HR. He treats HR, or he calls HR for only for recruitment. For him, it's all about HR is recruitment function. They, if I tell them that no, these are all my requirements, they will recruit people for the business. There was one major business issue. There were a lot of quality issues, customer complaints were there, and then there was a, council meeting, leadership meeting, and they were all worried about it, and there was discussion. And I said, so there were issue about the fabric. I said, it's not about the vendor; it's all about the fabric. Needs to be fabric behavior, and needs in technical term needs behave in certain way. You need to really treat neat garments in a different way. So I talked about fabric behavior. I talked about the person who is handling that fabric behavior. Probably he was not trained, or he didn't do it do the way, I mean, he was supposed to do. Then the CEO got surprised. He said, I know HR guys, they talk about all other things, but they don't talk about business. But probably, I mean, that was his experience. Then I have to clarify him. So then from that moment, and I mean, it has been a beautiful experience with them, working with them after that. No, after next 3-4 years, I was working with them. For any business issue, when any he used to always, I mean, his first counsel or guide or whatever it is, he calls me. He calls me. This is the problem. What should we do? What is the problem? So there is always, we try to solve people issues. We try to solve, provide people solutions that solved business problems. I think there are several examples I can quote, and he used to be very, his interpersonal relationship with people also it's a challenge. So one of the thing is, no, he used to write a mail whenever he can gets a mail. He writes in a harsher way, and then he calls me, Jiva, can you just look at this? How it is looking? I said, do you think you need to send this mail immediately, or do you have time to revisit? I said, no, I can send this evening also. Yeah, yeah, just rework on this and just let it be, and then we can rework on this. And by the time when I go in the evening, again he calls me. He used to call me, and the mail would have completely changed. It would have been more objective. Not there are no emotions, not negative emotions. It would have been with a very positive emotions. It would have really made a difference in that person's life. And this he used to do it a lot, and I think that's where HR plays a role. And the HR could be a good people counsel, you know and for every business problems, and there are people solutions. I think most of the CEOs, that's what I said earlier also, most of the CEOs, successful CEOs, they focus on, they try to solve the business problems through people, by addressing the people issues. Sorry for the long response.
No, in fact, if I can just add to what Ziva said, I think it's very, very beautifully articulated. You take the current pandemic situation that we were in. Not that we are perhaps completely out of it, but it was a very turbulent time, right? And if you see any of the problems that we were facing during that period, as far as business is concerned, would have been solved by people. It was people who were at the forefront trying to solve each of those areas, and absolutely completely backed by decisions that were being taken by people and for the people. So I think it's very and I find these debates or these conversations, it's like the chicken and egg story. So you can never really remove HR or the people function as long as there's going to be a business, because there has to it's if it's being run by people, then you need to have a people function just to sort of ensure that your business is in motion. So I said this before, I think it is the heart of an organization. It is, of course, dealing with the most important, sort of, and I agree with Jiva, maybe not a resource. I think it's the biggest asset that any organization has. It is certainly, not the machinery that you have, certainly not the land that you have, but it's people which becomes the most important. And hence, you cannot delink the two, Yash. Um,
That's it. I'm just taking the cue from you, Aarti. Thank you for that. Anyway, we are also mindful of time. But quickly, let me give you kind of recent perspective. So during COVID time, so one of the business in retail was grocery, and grocery was functional. Grocery was functional during lockdown also, and our people really, I have to salute, and we celebrated many times, we have expressed our gratitude, but I don't think that is enough. Our employees, our store associates, risk their life to reach the store every day. They used to risk their life to reach the store, because it's all about serving community. It's not about just business, running business. It's all about serving community, and we were able to do that. Whenever, when people are not able to come to the store to buy groceries, and somebody came up with an idea that, no, why didn't we do a run, no, market on wheels. There was an initiative. That's again people again, they decided that, no, we will send the store to the apartment complex, so that, no, we sell, we give them there. So that's how, people came up with a lot of innovative ideas, and they really risked their life, and they committed to serve the customer, not only in a normal situation, even in extreme abnormal situations. They really struggle, they really, contributed a lot. And that's all about people. And I think every manager is a people manager.
Thank you so much for putting it up this way. Like, that is something I think a lot of B school aspirants at this point of time would want to hear. And I think you guys, with your experience, have answered that question, because we always are in quest of that particular thing, right? Are we actually solving business problems? And with these examples that you have given, I'm very sure that it is clear in the minds of the young aspirants right now that, especially at Reliance, the scale at which we work, the synergies at which we function with the business, we are solving some strategic problems. We are solving a lot of problems in the business world through people, through HR. So that is a great thing. For all the audiences, if you have any questions, can please post it in the comment section. And whatever questions you have about the RELP program particularly, I think they should get addressed in the course of the presentation that we are going to walk you through about the RELP program, how it is designed, how it is structured, and what are the pros and cons. We'll also share our insights. I'll try to share a few of mine. But along with that, I just really want to know what is the perspective in the minds of Aarti ma'am and Jeeva sir about what do you think the RELP program is like? Like, how would you put it that what do we have to offer our young bright minds who become a part of RELP?
So, Jeeva, why don't you take that first?
Yeah, it's again. I think I mentioned it earlier. Also, I'm really jealous uh, because no, that's I didn't get this opportunity, but it's a fantastic program, and I've seen it, and I've worked with like I mean, you are a classy example, Ash. So I don't think anyone else. I don't think me or Aarti should endorse this program. So you are there. You are a living example in front of us now, and you're already gone through this process, and now you're in a role in your second year, and it's a fantastic initiative. We have a structured program, and we don't compromise on the quality of resources as well. I know Aarti would be able to add to that. What are the few competencies we are looking at? um, so we really look at certain competencies, and we are very choosy about choosing, I mean, selecting the people, selecting the right young brightest minds. And then this program is again very structured. You will be the transition is very comfortable. I mean, you'll be able to experience the transition in a very smoother way, and it will really help you. Yeah, Aarti.
I completely agree with Jeeva that I think, instead of us talking about it, I think it should be Yash who should perhaps be sharing his experience. But, having been so close to the Reliance Emerging Leaders program, and of course, having hired many, many Reliance Emerging Leaders over the last so many years, I think one thing which I would perhaps want to focus a lot more when it comes to a program like this, which, organizations like ours run, I think there is a huge potential, and that's the beauty of a program like this, that each and every participant can leverage from their co-participants. There's a community that you kind of build, and Yash, I can see Yash nodding frantically. I think Yash, of course, will have, 20, 30, 40 other batchmates of his working in different parts of Reliance. And while Yash would be working in one, there will be 20, 30, 40 working in so many others. And that's the potential that a program like this allows you to learn from. Because while you might get perspectives about one or two areas in your initial couple of years, I think the power that comes with the community that you're a part of, you can actually get exposure and know about, practically the entire business landscape within Reliance. So I think that to me is a very, very strong advantage and a differentiator that a program like the RELP, which we have at Reliance, which of course cuts across all our group businesses, has a clear advantage of. But I think, Yash, you would be the most appropriate to answer everything to do with the RELP, considering you're undergoing it yourself.
Well, certainly, if there are any questions for the audience, I'd love to answer that. But in the meanwhile, I just walk you through the program, how it has been constructed, and as both Jeeva sir and Aarti ma'am mentioned, it is a very personalized, a very customized program in terms of uh, every candidate, every REL has to go through two stints in the year one of 6 months each. Like there's a very, I'll say, I was very lucky to have a very elaborate induction. So like that induction itself was lasting for almost 3 to 4 weeks, where I got to know so much about the business. I got to know my peers, and as ma'am mentioned already, that peer-to-peer learning is a very big thing. Like we become friends. We all visit RCP. We live nearby. So like I currently am in retail, but I get to know what's happening in Geo, what's happening in O2C, what's happening in New Energy, and that is something which is like you learn from other people. That is the best thing about this program. And one more thing, like in the stint one and stint two itself, you are an RELP, but at that point of time, you're not treated like a management trainee at all. Like the leaders here expect you to lead the project, and they are not like, don't come and ask us what to do. They are on the lines of, you tell us what to do and why, and we will go ahead and see what happens. So that kind of autonomy, that kind of, I'll say, respect at such an early stage of a career is something which RELP offers. And whenever, like, across the organization, everyone recognizes an REL. Like if you say I'm an REL from 2017 batch, like people know who you are. They know your capabilities. They know what you have done, what you can do. So for your aspirants out there, I'm certainly like, this is something you should grab your opportunity, because at an early stage you get a chance to work with the C-suite, be it the CFO, CMO, CHROs of, like, we have so many CHROs, we have so many HR heads. So like from that point of view, at such an early stage in your career, you get a chance to work with them. You get a chance to work with people who have like 20, 30 years of experience. And it helps to mold your thought process. It helps you to actually think big. It helps you to make mistakes. So another beautiful aspect here is that the two stints are in different businesses altogether. So after that point of time, you can make an informed, I'll say relatively informed decision as to where you would like your career to go. And it's not only your two stints, it's your two stints plus, say, you have, say, other 10 people who are in the HR stint. So they are two stints. So you have a informed decision making capacity after 20 experiences. And then on the basis of that, you might choose a final stint, which happens in your second year. So that cross business exposure is something which I personally found very, very interesting. Especially for HR, there is a mandatory manufacturing stint. So you get to know what exactly is on a manufacturing site. You also have an opportunity to have interaction with people who are in retail, who are in geo, who are in new commerce. So from all those perspectives, I feel that it's a consumer facing. You get to know almost the entire spectrum of the business world. And especially from the veterans out here, like, it's good to know, like, the networking point of view through an RELP program. It's like people trust you. That is the best thing I feel like. Because they trust you, you get a lot of opportunities, and if you grab them, then sky's the limit here. Like nobody will say, why are you working on this project, because you are supposed to work on that project. They are like, if you can manage to work on that project, no issues with that. So like this is the properly structured program. The year one itself is very exciting, and after that it's like the placement season once again, because based on some experiences, there are roles, and you apply for the roles. You actually go through a grinding process as to understanding whether you are the right fit for that role and if it is aligning with your interests. So both the factors are considered, and like I also went through that. My batchmates went through that. We have to prepare for it once again, but it's fun. And in the end, if you get what you want, that's a great thing. And supposing you don't get what you want, then you realize that probably this is something better. So from those experiences, I'd like to say that RELP journey is probably one of the best designed programs in the B school universe that we have out there. And it's like there are so many ways to get into it. So TUP being one of them, like you come up with your ideas, show your entrepreneurial spirit, and get your thinking hats. And who knows that you can get chance to actually be mentored by a senior Reliance leader. And as we saw in the call before this, you can maybe become a startup founder yourself, being mentored under the Reliance umbrella. So nurturing future leaders today, the TUP session. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask any one of us. You can reach out to us on our LinkedIn's, and I really like to say, get your thinking hats once again. All the best to all of you, not only from HR, from across the cohorts. This is a wonderful opportunity. So good luck, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Aarti ma'am. Thank you so much, Jeeva sir, for taking time out on a weekday.
Thank you so much, Yash. It has been a wonderful conversation. We didn't realize that it's been more than an hour now. Good interaction. Thank you, Aarti. Thank you, Yash.
Thank you so much, Yash, and thanks, Jeeva. It's actually been a wonderful conversation, and wishing all the very best to our audience who's joined in. Please do send in your ideas, and really look forward to having a very thriving ultimate pitch with your ideas in. So thanks so much, and all the very best.
Thank you, audience. All the very best.